Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Welcome to the Tarot Flow Show. My name is Alison Pickering. On the Tarot Flow Show, synchronicity is the star, those crazy coincidences that happen, and we experience lots of them here because we like to play with the tarot cards. One aspect of the tarot cards is for play. The other aspect is pretty serious and helps you discover your own pathway to your own self and spiritual path and all kinds of great stuff. Welcome. And I hope that you will check out AlisonPickering.com. We have all kinds of wonderful things starting this summer, 2024, including classes, community, and travel and meetup experiences. So we'll see you there. I am very happy today to bring to the Tarot Flow Show stage my wonderful co-host from Stockholm, Sweden, Kefri Skarabus. He is the student of all things mystical. He has been a companion all through COVID in the virtual world of Zoom. We still have not met face to face, folks.
No,
we
we haven't.
plan to do that at the end of the month.
Yeah. Hi, Alison. Nice to be
see you.
here.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for supporting this wonderful little adventure
No
with our
problem.
Tarot Talk Show. We're going to meet our wonderful guest today. And I have to say that I have been doing a lot of business study lately and different kinds of studying and master classes and this and that and the other. And there's always a little backline kind of chat going on, and people will say things and other people will comment things, and people would say things and they might have like a little thing that indicated that they had a like glitch in their thinking. It's like something was going to mess them up if they didn't catch this glitch in their thinking. I'm like, well, let me just kind of get in there and talk about that. And then all of a sudden, something would come up from Mel. And I'm like, who is this Mel? This Mel J has got all the goods. She was so and is so astute, so elegant, so generous in her commentary, so incisive and clear. And I'm like, who is this person? It turns out she's like 21 years old, and she is a warehouse worker because that's a nice way to start out in life. And they put her in as a manager because I bet she would have organized the union and taken them all down. And she's also a student. And as a manager, of course, you're going to lift the company up and all those good things. But I predict that you're going to be up and coming and out of there pretty soon, unless you take it over. Because your thoughts are so advanced and your maturity is so beyond your years. And I am so very, very pleased to have you on the show. MEL Johnson, TRAMEL Johnson, I thank you so much for being here. Yay, 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 because we're going to be hearing much, much more from you in the future. And I look forward to that. How are you doing today? Welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you.
Hello, I'm good. Everything is, coming together,
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I compliment you again on your clear thinking and your generosity with your thoughts, because not only are you tracking the learning that's going on this one channel, you not only are you thinking about what the input is that we're getting and you're processing and thinking about it, but when other people are showing that maybe their comprehension has been a little different, you're like, well, check this out, think about it this way, so elegantly. And I really appreciate that. And so I just want to commend you for your astuteness and all of that good stuff. Tell me a little bit about tarot, or your experience with it, or your experience with thinking about spiritual things or your own path. It's up to you what you want to talk about, but you're here. We're going to do a reading in a minute. What are you thinking about?
Tarot. I believe my experience with tarot is it's like a way of connecting with, I feel like spiritual guides, and that's my version, I believe. And it's kind of like just a message. Either, I don't know, I guess the time, either future, present, could be, advice, or, just something that you need to know. And that's how I look at it too. I feel like it's amazing. Is amazing.
Great. Well, I hope that this is in that category of experiences for you. Let's go ahead and take a look now at our little agenda for the day, shall we say, because we've had a chance to talk for a brief moment with you about your experiences with tarot, and I'm glad that they've been positive for you. We're going to
Yes.
look at the major arcana. We're going to look at the minors. We're going to make some connections and unpack a card just to see how jam-packed a single card can be. That's not your reading per se. That's just taking a look at something that intrigues us in the moment, a particular major arcana. And then this is the point that you were making. And I think that, again, it's so clearly expressed. You were saying that it's just there for us to think about, and so that's what any reading is. We're not trying to like tell the future. We're not trying to do anything dire. We're not trying to connect with anything evil. Oh my God. No, it's really trying to get just an expanded picture of the now so that we can think about it, because that is productive time. It is productive time to think more deeply about anything in the now, because honestly, now is the only thing that there is. And so you want to make good use of your time, and not only live your life horizontally through time, but also live your life vertically. You want to make contact with that which is outside of time. And so that's part of, I think, now that you've encouraged me to think of in these ways, thank you, TRAMEL, is to think about that idea that we're having an experience with the vertical right now. We're stopping time for a moment to expand it and look at these images. And so that's what we're going to do. You may know this character. And again, for those who are checking this out, you're going to see some genders depicted. You're going to see some mostly Euro faces depicted. These were done in the 1900s by a couple of people who were both American and British, and the woman who did the actual designs was a theatrical designer. So the intent on these designs was to make it possible for you to tell from the last nosebleed seats of the theater what is supposed to be going on here. And so the line drawings are very intentional. The coloration is also quite intentional, but there are lots of decks out there that play fast and loose with all that kind of stuff. Plus there's 80 million decks out there that have cloned this particular deck, the Waite Smith deck. But because this deck is so richly imbued with symbolism and intentionality, shall we say, that's the one we use. And I've got a melanated version of it. I have a this and that version of it. There's lots and lots of wonderful things. There's called a Weiser version, Weiser, Weiser, which is exactly this line drawing, but it has watercolors and the skin tones are more diverse.
Okay.
But we're not talking about people here. We're talking about a spiritual reality. So however you depict it is going to limit it too much anyway. So we're going to accept these limitations at the moment and rock on, so to speak. So this guy, this woman, this person, this being, this spirit who has no body yet is jumping into like yet another lifetime, yet another experience, willing to experience it. What are these experiences? We'll take a fast look at these. This is vastly oversimplified, but it might be useful in terms of our thinking. And that's the first row left to right is, let's say, childhood and internal resources and home resources. So internal masculine and feminine polarity. External mother and father figures. External teachers and society's rules with the Hierophant. External companions, friends, loved ones with the Lover's card. External experiences with the Chariot card, moving out of the home and into the world. That takes us to our next row. The next row is the experiences and the emotional and psychological and earthly experiences that make us who we are, hopefully in a good way. We have to deal with our passions with the Strengths card. How do we handle all that sexual energy and all that violence and all that stuff that is of the world? The Hermit, how do we handle our solitude and our own responsibilities for our own pathway? How do we handle luck and other people's learning and our own progress and learning in the world as we bump into other people's trajectories as well? How do we handle the laws of the world, of our nation, of our municipality, of our own heart? Perhaps those are our family laws, and then we find ourselves with a different set of laws for our own self, and that is virtuous. That's the Hanged Man, for example. The Death card is changes that you can't really control that come through your life, a hurricane, an earthquake, a death in the family, a divorce. There's many things that create these changes that for which resistance is futile. And then you have to find some way to learn and balance off of that, which is that temperance angel, and find your pathway to your crown. See the crown in the background there? And the crown is significant because it's at the top of the tree of life, the Kabbalistic tree of life. Keter, the point of contact with the ultimate unknowable source, is the crown. At the bottom row, we have the different kinds of states of consciousness that arise from all of these life lessons and everything. So you could be real hung up on the materialistic and the physical, and it's all about the money. But honestly, sometimes it is. You got to pay the bills. You got to render unto Caesar. You got to have a job sometimes or make a contract. Whatever it is, you have to engage with the world. And that figure above is actually Capricorn, the goat, and the goat is the sign of lifelong work. Capricorns are often successful later in life as they climb the mountain slowly and surely throughout their life. The Tower card. If we only think that the material world is all there is, then other things will come in and show us that there are other things going on that will knock the crown off of our little preconceptions there. It will throw us for a loop. It will flip our lid. It will knock us for a loop. It will, hear all the slang, the little idioms that we have in our language to depict these kinds of things that this picture is talking about. And then we are left naked unto ourselves with nothing but who are we? Who are we? That is to be defined. And we have that light left over in the moon card from that lightning flash, so we can kind of sort of remember where we're going. But during this time, it's going to be very emotional and unconscious sometimes, but that's part of the process. As we discover our liberation with that child, that's the Fool now he's coming to this as a little child, if you like. He has a flag of victory. There may be a wall between him and the source still, but he cannot control what's happening now. The horse is carrying him or her. Then we're marching to a new drummer. We are awakened to a new reality, and we are then again nude, but clothed in our multi-gender reality. There is no gender at this level, but it's a multipolarity in our unity. In our unity, are we victorious? And notice the magician at the beginning has the one wand, and this figure at the end has the two wands. Breasts also signify feeding the world. Breasts signify creation. The other, and it's also the source of ultimate power as well. And it is the woman power of the portal into the world, for example. And so we see here the portal into the world and also the portal into a new life. So many things to see in these cards, many things along the path of these 22 major arcana. As we take a look at these, Mel, can I ask you to think about a card? And this is not a reading for you, but is there any particular card that we kind of went over here that is particularly intriguing for us to go close up on and unpack? One or two cards?
The Wheel of Fortune, I would say.
Wheel of Fortune. It's a beautiful card. And Kefri's going to go ahead and put that up on his interface. And here we go. So here's the Wheel of Fortune. What a beautiful card for your juncture right now, because you're at this kind of pivot place. Biblical language is a metanoia, for example, this place of pivoting. I'm not sure if Kefri, you would agree that is this one, but certainly we spin on the wheel, pivoting on the wheel. Look at the letters on the wheel. We can read them right to left, and we can see that it's tarot. But if we read them right, the other way, it would be Torah, like the Jewish holy book. You can see the Hebrew letters there. Those are the 4 letters of the unpronounceable name of God. There are the angels from Ezekiel's vision, and they are also the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac there. You can see on the bottom left, you've got the Taurus, the bull, learning. We've got Leo, the lion, learning. The wings of Mercury, the wings of the mind, The elevated aspect of Scorpio. Scorpio has the scorpion, the snake, and the eagle. The eagle is the higher aspect of Scorpio, and then we have the angel, the water bearer, Aquarius, over in the top left corner. There's lots of other things. There's alchemical signals, alchemical symbols like arrows that are kind of crisscrossing the middle. There is a sphinx. There's an Anubis fixture. There's clouds. There's a snake. So just itemizing, you can see how much there is in here. I'm going to hand off a bit to Kefri right now to give us a bit of insight into what those symbols might mean.
Thank you, Alison. And in the world, in the wheel, we have also the word arrow, if we read it, and rota means, of course, wheel. So that is presenting itself inside of itself, so to say. And we can also see this like a drop of water that is landing on a water surface, and the rings that are created by the drop, actually. That could also be here in this mysterious wheel, actually. And also we have 4 elements, as Alison has already been talking about, the zodiac signs, so the Ezekiel's animals from his vision and so on. And they are 4, and 4 is often a key number for the world, actually. Most things come in 4, actually. And then we can see round the wheel, we have 3 things. We have the Sphinx, we have the Anubis, and we have the snake. And they, of course, could be the 3 elements that are of alchemy that are called the tria prima. And they are the beginning stage before the 4th element is added. And the 4th element is, of course, earth. But this element, the first 3 is, of course, air, water, and fire. And they are here, but then you can ask yourself also, but it is 4 elements around the wheel and 3 inside. Yeah, but still there is a 4th element around the wheel also, because you yourself is rotating around the wheel also. Because that is the ups and downs of life, actually. And the planet that this is connected to is Jupiter, actually. That is a very lucky planet, actually. Often concerned to be a lucky planet that always enlarge everything. So that is what we can see, a bit of what we can see. There are more things here, but that's a bit of what we can see.
Thank you. So you can
You're
see that
welcome.
these things are just jam-packed and crazy with symbols and stuff. They also can evoke feelings. You're at a juncture in your life when kind of like, who knows what is next? So maybe that also feels like the roulette wheel for you, something in that way. What do you see when you chose this card, or when you look at this now that we've said all the words that we have said? What comes to mind from these images? What do they remind you of, or what do they make you feel?
I can't really decipher like what I feel exactly. I just know that there is a lot in that. It's kind of like, I feel like it's like a different meaning, like just looking at one thing at a time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It just is more of like that. So it's like, as a whole, it's like, okay, it's a lot, it's just the overall picture. And
the fact that you say that, it calls to mind something really important. And I'm glad you highlighted this, because what's happening right now is we're kind of going back and forth between these 2 mental, intuitive functions here. Because right now we're kind of teaching about the card. So we're looking at the card kind of intellectually and analytically. We're taking it apart and we're looking at its pieces. But when we get into the reading function, we're going to be going to this holistic way of looking at it and seeing how does it help us access the meaning that needs to come forward at this moment? How does this trigger that meaning to come forward? So the fact that you're kind of like, well, I don't really know is 100% legit, because we're kind of sitting on the fence right now between these 2 ways to approach the card. And I can kind of straighten it out in my head to a certain degree because I've just been doing this for 100,000 years. Between me and Kefri, in terms of tarot, we figured out that we have like 93 years between us or something. It's so nutty. Yeah, it's crazy. So there you go. For whatever let's hope that's time well spent.
Yeah.
So let's take a look now at where we're going with our reading. And so we're going to also, in the reading, use the vocabulary of the minor arcana. So I'm going to take a moment here and just go over the minors for you and for whoever is watching and enjoying this. And if this is your first exposure, I hope it's useful. And if it's not your first exposure, I hope it is enriching and confirming to what you already know about tarot. Looking at the four suits, Kefri was talking about the four elements. We've got the fire on the left with the ace and the knight, because the knight's a good example with his fiery symbols and his salamanders and his fire and on his sleeve, and his horse is ready to go, and there's flames in the mane and in his helmet. And, now you'll notice that the pyramids in the distance aren't quite sharp pyramids because he's still a developing ego. But he's ready to go, he's got the idea. He's ready to go. Energy. And so now that idea, if this is representing an idea, if we are going to indeed move it forward, it better be something that has some purpose and that we care about. And that's the Cups card, which is next. So the Cups card that we're seeing here on the second position up and down is the care that we would have to feel about that idea. You can see there's a communion dove and things have this idea of the Holy Spirit descending, this blessing in there. You can see in the night all the watery symbols and also more wings. So there's a loftiness of the purpose and the holy grailness of the purpose, and he's willing to cross the waters, and it's a very courtly kind of card. So there's a lot of ceremony and higher emotion in the cups that we're seeing depicted here. And then if you're going to take this idea from the sparkiness through the care and now closer to reality, you're going to have to probably map it out and plan it out and make some to-do lists and all that kind of stuff. That kind of starts to make it linear and analytical. That's the swords. The swords is ideas and communication. Don't we start wars over ideas and communication? Look at that knight. He's ready to take off and kill someone. And whether or not the idea is the right one, he's just off and running. And then we also have, if this idea, whatever that idea is going to take place in the earth plane, in the world of the flesh, then it's going to be in the pentacles, that suit of the pentacles. And what is the pentacles? The pentacles is the representation of the solidity of the earth and the time frame, because everything that we do on the earth has to happen in time. So that horse on the bottom on that knight card is really slow because he has to stand there and make sure that the crows don't come and eat that seed that they just plowed and planted, so that people can actually eat, because there's a responsibility in the world to make sure that we don't starve. So we have to get adept in the world and make sure we don't starve and try and lift ourselves from the muck and get as elevated as we can. It's pretty basic in the beginning, but how far can we get, away from those basics perhaps? And that is the promise of that portal in that Ace of Pentacles, going through this little loop or the archway to those mountains. And the mountains are often depicting kind of your attainment. And why is there a pentagram on the pentacle? Why do we have that 5-pointed star? Are we doing witchcraft? No. What this is, it's just a symbol. And the symbol is that we have to deal with the earth through our 5 senses, through our touch and through our sight and through our hearing and through our smell and through our taste. Those are the things that we really deal with the world with, and we mold the world with our hands, and that implementation level, so to speak. And going to some of the business talk that we've been listening to lately, Mel, this is the implementation level. And the other ones are moving more into the communication level, into the communicative and emotion level, and then into that idea phrase. So you could take those 1, 2, 3, 4 back up the chain here, and we could do a whole little module on tarot and business, don't you think? Yeah, that'd be fun. And I'm already like, ooh, the idea is, yeah. So there's lots of connections. And so this also calls to mind the idea that in the tarot, it becomes a great filing system to attach all kinds of things to, because most things hang really well on this system because it is so comprehensive. And it's connected to the Kabbalah and Tree of Life and all kinds of things. And so there we go. Looking real quickly at our wands cards to look at these briefly, we can see that these are the ideas, the ambitions, your intuition, your values, all those things that we can't control, but they do control us. And so it's good for us to have good communication with our intuition. Then we go into the cups for the feeling, for our calling, for the emotions, for relationships, the essentials of life. Without the water of life, we will starve and die. Water is the number one element that we must have. We are emotional creatures indeed, but mastering those emotions is the life's work. And the swords is the thinking function. We can kill others and ourselves with the wounding of our thoughts, the cruelty of our thoughts, but we can also make things happen. Notice all the air symbols in the court cards: wind, butterflies, birds, clouds. And then in the earth, we have, again, maybe the progression of a business. As we look at these court cards, you can see all the earthy symbols, the grapes, the agriculture, the plants, the coloring, the bunny rabbits, the crocodile under the foot of this king. Heavy is the crown. Heavy is the crown of the ruler of the world, or something. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of responsibility when you have to make sure everybody eats, so to speak. Everybody works. Everybody, whatever the case may be. So those are our little images. And then here's the reading that we're going to have a chance to do with you today, Mel. And as we look at that, we're going to see that in the top middle of the smaller cards there, we will put a card to represent the issue or the topic, whatever it is that we're looking at. If you want us to look at a particular thing, you can articulate that, and then, or we can just, do the roulette wheel thing and see what falls. And then on the bottom, we're going to be tracing a little timeline that kind of goes left to right in terms of what happened first, what happened next, what happened after that. That particular timeline might be anchored in the present. So we're looking at something that happened a little while ago, something that's going on now, and something that's coming up. We shall see. Okay. There's going to be some advice cards on the top left. Watch out for this. Be cautious about this, even though you might default to that. You might want to watch it. And then on the other hand, there's some more supportive things that you might want to consider. And then at the end, we'll pick the kind of perspective card to give us a bit of bird's eye view and consideration on this. What questions might you have at this point?
No questions at the moment. I think I would want maybe a general reading, whatever comes out.
Whatever comes up. Okay. I like your spirit. I always have. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and then we'll bring our cards to the stage, and we will go ahead and I'll do this so that we can still keep in mind what the reading intention is going to be. And as I shuffle, Mel, would you mind just letting me know? I'm just going to scoot that up. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to shuffle a couple times, and you just let me know when to stop.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
I do this because the back design on these is a little confusing. So with a curve, it makes them easier to see separately. And I kind of do my little touching ritual thing here. Everybody's got their thing,
Yes.
And I basically go where my eyes fall.
All right.
So let's think about what's going to be really helpful for Mel to consider today. 9 of Cups. Nice.
Okay.
your happiness having primacy, your victory. Let's recognize it. Congratulations. You're on your own. You are making your own living. You are not under anybody's thumb right now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Table full of trophies. Just before we got on this, that Stacy Lauren person was running a thing with a couple of the other people who are involved with Eileen. Okay, so we know what we're talking about. And apparently Eileen has her little inner circle, and she was doing some Bible study, and she was talking about, I wrote it down, but of course I moved it out of the way. But the idea being from Zechariah 4, that we let go and let favor flow. And the idea, and I'm going to go look at it, but the idea being that there is infinite oil in this grove of trees. And the miracle of Hanukkah, as we may be aware, is the unending supply of oil when they only had one night's worth in the temple. And so that's another representation of this. And so be assured of the abundance in your life. As you need it, it will come. This very much goes to that, what do you have in your house? I have some oil. That Myron story that he tells, the Shulamite wife, right? So the Shulamite woman, or whatever the story is, we've all heard it, about, he says, what do you have? I have some oil. And he says, well, go bottle it up and it's going to keep flowing, basically. And so that oil, that unending flow of oil, crosses religions and gives us the idea of this, this thing that we all need. And interestingly, as we have risen from the amoeba stage, the thing that allowed us to differentiate ourselves was a lipid layer, a layer of fat. So the idea of oil being something essential to life is quite interesting in this context. I never thought of that before, but now that I was thinking about the oil flowing from that other quote, that's what I'm onto right now. So anyway, there's a significator for you. So may your oil ever flow and abundantly to supply you with whatever you need. What is the timeline? Let's look at the timeline now. What happened first? What's the first thing to look at? Here we go. Then what? After that full, big, beautiful move, then what? Figuring it out. Move it around. Robbing Peter, paying Paul. Figure it out. Can be done. Whenever you make a decision, the beginning stages are hard because you just don't know quite yet what you're doing. So you got to just do what you do. Do what you can. Do what you know how. No work is lost. I have the Myron book in the bathroom, so I get like a page every session. No work. All work works.
Yes.
Okay. So you've been working and you've been making it happen.
Yes.
As you will be able to do forever with that infinity forever sign right there. Without as much stress. Okay, let's look at the future. Or whatever is next. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Advice for TRAMEL. Advice for TRAMEL. This is advice avoid. So what is best for TRAMEL to kind of watch out for? Oof. Negative thinking. Other people's negative thinking. Other people's sniping and attempts to control you. All that bullshit you had to listen to for so many years. Excuse my language.
Makes perfect sense.
Our last guest, TRAMEL, was a woman who spent her entire career finding out who is abusing children in foster care and getting those kids out of that care and getting them into better care. So you weren't in foster care, but you could have done with someone like that, perhaps. Life is not over.
Nope.
Nor are you. Notice this guy. We'll put him up in a little while, but he's got. Did you grow up Catholic or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Well, there's a sign that the priest makes of a sign of the Trinity blessing. It may be in other churches as well, but that and maybe it has a different symbol. Kefri will tell us. But still, this guy, he's got all these his stabbed in the back and everything. But the dawn is breaking, and he still is blessing the world. And so, you can retain through all of your wounding. You can retain your dignity. This is in the now. Interestingly, this is in the advice against position. So perhaps. So we'll think about that one because that's interesting in the advice against.
Yes.
Let's see what the advice for is. What's going to be supportive for TRAMEL? Maybe a little interaction. Input from another. Let's look at that 9 of Cups, please. Congratulations.
Thank you.
There is no rest for the weary. You're probably really busy, but you can acknowledge your victory. You can legitimately be proud of yourself. And understand that you can really, most people, even when they're 40, 50, can't kind of climb out the way you have done. And so I'm going to say, well done. Look what great time you're making. You're going to do a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Always trying.
Yeah. Well, that's the attitude, you know. And I had a weird experience lately that I would describe as a spiritual experience, but there was joyous, bubbly laughter way above me. It's like a dream, way above me. And we were in kind of like a blending container, but the blender was like the world. Okay. And this bubbly laughter was saying, just don't worry about it. It all kind of comes out in the wash. Don't worry about it. It's not that important. Just keep looking up, keep moving up, keep moving up. So that was, so that to your point, that's something that I have been contemplating lately as well. Let's take a look. So the 9 is also a contact with a higher realm. 9 is the just what's above us, because we're hanging out in 10. Just so you know, in terms of this 1 to 10, it's the tree of life, and it comes from the 1, which is way up where we can't know. 6 is right in the middle of the balance and the kind of heart consciousness we would want to embody, which is our portal to that. And then we're down below in 10. So the 6 is that balance place, and we're down below in 10. And the place that gets us to the 6 and to that 1 down the middle path, so to speak, is the 9. It's like first stop 9. That you are there in the emotions means you have an emotional balance and if you can sustain your optimistic outlook, it will do you such good in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's take a look at that Fool card. The past is prelude. You are jumping into new reality. You do not have to reference that anymore, should you not choose to. You can if you want to like process emotions, but you might, I don't know, but you might want to just compartmentalize and really park that stuff for a while as you explore your new life. I don't know if that's your psychological type. Maybe you tend to ruminate and obsess, but I get the impression that you discipline yourself to not obsess on what cannot be changed, but to kind of look forward, kind of like the serenity prayer, you know, what can I change? If that's something that you can harness for yourself, it will really help you, especially when things when you go through those cycles where it's kind of the ups and downs of life. When you're in the down cycle, if you can harness that internal optimism that's represented by this Fool card, as well as by that 9 card that we had in your significator place, then you will really have such a winning hand in terms of being able to serve yourself and others, to do well and to not suffer unnecessarily in this life. So the Fool, so you're like, let's see, somebody said you can't do it, and you're like, oh yeah, let me try, and you did it. So more power to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was gonna like speak out on that. I'm like, I do not over obsess over it, but like I have a problem solver mindset. So it's like instead of whining about it, I look for a solution, but I do not disregard it. You know, I like to acknowledge that that's there. That happened. It's it happened.
Good. That's called balance. That's very
Right.
good. That's called
So,
introspection and balance and reflection and all that good stuff. More power to you. That's great.
yes.
Because you don't want to be like with your head in the sand, but you don't want to never look within. You got to look within. And then where's the powerful stance? So you can acknowledge, but then you got to stand somewhere. And what direction? What's the stance that's going to make you best able to fend for yourself? You have to fend for yourself now.
Exactly.
Right. So you have to be your own mama bear. Like you never had, if I may be so bold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the stuff that you might want to park until you have like a couple of months at a retreat or something. Because in the meantime, you got things to do. So let's look at that present tense, the present time, or whatever is the next after making the big jump. After they said no, you can't, and you said yes, I can.
Right.
This is the yes, I can. You figured out, well, I got a little savings. I can do that. Then I can go hustle some money over here. I can do that. If I work overtime, I can do that. If I pay them, I can do this. Then I can front a little money on this credit card. Don't do that too often, but because it costs a lot of change to do that. People don't know all the penalties that you get with the percentages, but there you go. It's still an available resource if you need it. Blah, blah, blah. Basically it's you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You make it happen. You make it happen. You make it happen. Maybe you got roommates, maybe you whatever, and they flaked out of the money. Where can I get the money? I'll cover it. You cover me, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Doing a little dance, make a little love, get down tonight. Okay. I'm being very silly, but honestly, the card that's coming up would indicate that you are going to be doing a little dance, making a little love, and getting down tonight in some way, like was so like forbidden to you. My God. So you perhaps have some exploration to do. Let's look at that 8, please, Kefri. I don't know what your orientation is, but this can mean any number of things. So whether you enjoy the company of whomever, and I do believe that was part of the motivation for people clamping down so hard, is how scary that was. I'll tell you another little story offline at some point if that's of interest to you, in a reading that I did for somebody when I was working for these phone lines. So just expect that there's going to be a lot of energy infusing the situation as you move into a space where you can let that in. So as you decide to let that in, as you decide to engage, there will be choices available to you, lots of them, because you are a sweetheart. So do be aware that you should hold yourself high. Okay. High, not like anybody who wants you, it has a right to you. No. Now you may feel like you want them and you have a right to them. That's fine. That's your way. That's your decision. That's your desire. Follow your own desire. So maybe you don't like men, but all these men are coming on to you, but you'd rather have a woman. Do that. Maybe these women are coming on to you, but you can't deal with that yet. Maybe you're going to try the men. Maybe you're going to try both. Maybe you're going to try, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Look up from the blender. Just keep looking up. Love is love, and it's all about making quality connections. So let's take a look at that Lover's card.
Okay.
8 is also that strength card. So we got the 8 of Wands. And so what that means is that all this, you're going to have like all kinds of passionate ideas. They're going to be work ideas. Now, the work ideas, watch out. I've had this experience. It's very bizarre. I find a business idea that I like, and all of a sudden I have sexual feelings. I'm like, what's going on? And then I find someone that I can, like apply that to. And like, oh, they're interesting, but it's not that. It's kind of like, I like the idea. It turns me on to do this thing, Okay. So there's interesting reactions that can happen in your body as a reaction to things, but from the most natural point of view at this point in your life, it would be nice, if you haven't yet had or haven't yet had a really nice one, to have a beautiful love experience and to have the experience of intimacy with another person, and to have the blessings. And notice the purple. So you remember that purple sash on the woman in that world card she was holding the 2 victory wands. She had the beautiful purple sash. And there's the purple on this angel up here. And so there's a lot of blessing and victory in uniting with another person in a beautiful way, not in a using way, not in a like needy, horrible way. Although, we can't avoid it because we are creatures and we have our psychological trips that we have to work out, and we got to work it out with other people. So basically, you're entering into an agreement to work out their projections, and they're working out your projections, and hopefully you can get to see each other for real in this process.
Okay.
Because most of us are working on our ideals. Oh my God, you're my ideal, but they're not. They're just a regular person. But and it's also that narcissism where we see ourselves in someone else and we fall in love. We're like, oh my God, you're just like me. I love you. But that's about self-love, and you got to straighten it out, So,
Yeah, right.
now, you can straighten it out by going through a grueling 4.5 years with someone else. Or you can discover that it's about yourself, love yourself, and then find someone else who's going to love you in that same way. And that's quicker.
Yeah.
So, it's all up to you. It's all now. It's all always now. So it kind of doesn't matter how much time it takes, but it does, but it doesn't, it's, but none of us knows how much time we have.
That is true.
So the advice to you is to connect with others. The advice with you is to really revel in your feeling of personal choice. Very important for you, to whom has been denied personal choice for so much of your life, that you must keep a journal of my self-love choices or something like that. And every day you can, at the end of the day, you say, I chose to do this. I chose to do that. I chose to do this. And you can project the next day. Tomorrow, I choose to love myself. Tomorrow, I choose to speak to my boss about X, whatever it is that's going to be feeding you in your sense of choosing to love yourself is really going to advance your life in a lot of ways. And it will reflect in the other people that are attracted to you. And you're going to have to be beating them off with a stick. I'm telling you. So get ready. Okay. Get ready, because you're gorgeous. You are gorgeous. And if I could see the aura, it would be like rainbow, sparkly, unicorn, honestly. And so you're going to be and there's also going to be people who are opportunist. So be aware of those kind of people. If anybody's love bombing you and stuff like that, watch out, because you got a lot to give, and the vampires out there are going to want that. So, and not to make you scared of the world, but it's real that you're going to experience challenges as a young woman, and you want to hold yourself high in terms of who you're going to allow in to you. And that way you don't have to work off a lot of later wounding.
Yes, I understand exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I've been talking, and thank you for your patience. I hope this is useful. Obviously, you'll have the recording. I'm going to go off camera now and hand off to Kefri. You're welcome, Tramel, to say whatever you'd like to say at this point, or you can just listen and let Kefri do his thing. The way we do the readings, just so you know, is I tend to read how these cards would play out in the everyday life. Okay. In your everyday life and your day-to-day and in your psychology. Then he's going to kind of pick it up there and take it into a spiritual level. So we're modeling this idea of going up the chain spiritually with these cards. Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison. I am looking at the 9 of Cups again, because Alison was talking about this mysterious oil, and you can also see this oil as light, actually. And what you have been doing is putting up all those chalices on the shelf there. And now you can fill them with power and light, actually. So that is also your foundation here, because this card is about building a foundation actually, and that is what you are starting to do actually. And the cups are there, so you can just put in what you want in it, so to speak. So that is a very positive outcome here, and a start, we can say. And the full card I read in a bit deeper mind here, because it's like you know what you want to do. And it is like in you there is a sort of a therefore I want to do it. And the question has not been there actually, but you know that therefore you want to do it. And that is because you have something with you inside of this thing that you are working on actually. Something that you don't know where it comes from, but it is a part of you, so to speak. And that is a feeling that is very good, because that directs you in this actually. And Alison has also already been into this too here, with stepping and handling the eternity, so to speak, with the 8 there. And that is also what you can do, because you have the faith in this, as you feel that therefore I want to do it. And then you have the total faith to do it actually. And you have already said it yourself that you don't give up. You see positivity in all situations, and that is this thing actually. And also you can look at the big boat and the small boat, and they are in the same situation here with those wavy waters, and it can be quite tough actually. And you know that it is tough with heavy waters, emotions for all people, even if they are on a big ship or on a small ship. And that is a very good wisdom to have, I would say. And this card is about wisdom, actually. It is about having the wisdom and know that that's the way it is. And it's so beautiful also because you have the 8 here with the eternity symbol, and then you have the card for the 8 here afterwards. Sorry. Uh, there you have the 8 here. So that is like this card is giving this, and this is the ones are coming from a higher realm, because they are a fiery divine world, we can call it.
Okay.
And that's a world where you cannot reach actually, because that's a higher world, and I am talking kabbalah now in the tree of life. Uh, but you can reach it in the world beneath it, and that's the world of the cups actually. So you are ready to take in what is given to you from a divine sense, so to speak. So you are ready for that, and you are not afraid of it actually, and that is so beautiful. And Alison has already been into it. Don't let other people go on you and try to put you down or pin you down, because you know what you want to do, and that is very important to keep that feeling actually.
Yes.
And then we have the advice card here, that is quite interesting, because that is, you can also read it in a way that this is the feminine energy inside of you and the masculine energy inside of you finding each other and coming together in a sort of a marriage actually. And that is going into a balance actually, because this card is about a balance. And then you have that mysterious angel up there, and that angel is the keeper of the divine secrets actually. And that angel is giving that to you in portions actually. And I know And I think that you are aware of that already, because sometimes you feel things that you don't know where they come from, but they are great truth actually. And that is a sort of a receiving mechanism that you have in yourself as you are not closing it out. So that's very good, I believe. And this is very positive cards. And you can also see you have the sun up here, and that is the balancing point in the tree of life. And that's the Sephira of Tiferet. And the key name for that is beauty. And that is a key name for you also, because this is so beautiful what you are doing actually, and you emanate that energy is also in all of you. Alison has already been into it, and I can see it too. And it makes all people around you happy, I believe, and also totally taken in by your power actually. And you can also see how many of those cards here that are yellow actually, this sun
Yeah.
yellow color. And you can see that there is only one card that is black actually, and that is the card that is not the advice to go, so to speak. And that is also yellow underneath here, but there is a light, a lot of black here before the light is coming. And this also has a heavenly message, I believe, that don't feel, uh, don't feel controlled by divine thoughts, so to speak. Don't feel it lightly, and don't be afraid from what is coming in, because you can sort it out. And what
Yes.
you don't want, you can leave actually. And you can also tell that to what is coming in, that I doesn't want this.
Okay.
So that is also there actually. So it's a beautiful set of cards actually, because they are very hopeful, and they are also showing this way you are going. And now we are going to look at the seventh card actually that is here, and I will draw that card for you.
Okay.
There we have it. And yeah, that is the Six of Pentacles, actually. And that,
Nice,
yeah,
nice, nice.
and that card is about charity. And you can
Mm.
talk about it more, Alison, if you want.
We can both talk about this, and then
Yeah,
and then Mel, you're welcome to say whatever eloquent things you want to say about this, because I predict you will at now or whenever. Um, so again, we have a 6. So you'll notice that we had the 6 in the Lover's card, the 6 being that place of balance on the Tree of Life. Hey, Kefri, would you mind picking up one of the pictures of the Tree of Life, maybe that Flower of Life one,
yeah,
just to get
yeah,
just for a pretty picture?
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you've
Just,
seen the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. There's a zillion images of it out there, but he's going to put up one of
just
them that
see
we have.
what one that is. Is it that one? Yeah, no, it's not
That one
that
will
one.
work. That's a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
clunky to me. That
yeah.
one has a lot of that's like a tarot card. That one has
Yeah,
90,000 symbols written into it.
but
Yeah.
we take another one. There is the one
Yeah,
you
that
are
one.
searching for.
So the crown is up at the top, that kind of white thing. And then we have the gray and the blue. So notice that there's white, gray, and black. And when you got the primary colors, then you got the secondary colors, right? And then down here, this is where we're hanging out in the world, where the shades are. So, and all 4 elements and all those colors now have the black mixed in, for example. And when we were talking about the purple, you can see that that's the pathway directly up. That's the 9. Then the 6 is that central place. You could call it Christ consciousness. You can call it the place of the everlasting oil, the place where we have that feed, where we can access that feed. And then straight up from there through this kind of abyss is to the crown, which is that Keter place. The pathways that are depicted in your reading are very high up on the tree, and that's the Lover's card, which goes from the black card to the yellow one, from the black sphere to the yellow one. And then you also have the Fool card, which is the one that goes from the white card to the gray. So look at the direct kind of kite-shaped channel that is being traced in your reading here, where you have not only touching all three of the top Sephirot, but you also have the pathway down into the heart of it all, which is the heart of all of us, that sacred heart. And so that beautiful thing there is that yellow, and look how it permeates your reading. And then the 8 is going to put you down into this very solid orangey thing, and that's going to be very energized by the red, that martial sexual energy. But then you also have the beautiful blue in the 9 from the, coming through. So it's just, this is a really rainbow gorgeous little reading, as you are a rainbow gorgeous person. And so it's all quite synchronistic, if you ask me. And you are welcome to be on the show as an interviewer, as a host, as a business person, as whatever you like in the future, because I would like to be involved with you in whatever it is that you're doing moving forward, because I think you're fabulous. And I predict your massive success, and long may you live and prosper and share your gifts with others.
Okay, thank you. This I just want to say, like, this, as soon as I seen this image, I thought of chakras. Is that
Yes.
like?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They are in there.
Absolutely,
also.
absolutely. And then I've got this chart thing over here that has, it has that superimposed. Let me just stick it up by the camera, see if we can see that up here. Can you see that there?
Yeah. All right.
And then I was talking to this guy, he was talking about having had the spiritual thing, and he was a cop, he was a police officer. And he said he had this massive, painful bolt that went from his shoulder to his heart, and that's exactly that kind of, is that the high priestess line, I think?
The high priestess is here. Yeah, it is.
It was the lovers. It was another thing. Anyway, all
yeah.
these things have relevance. And so, yes, the chakras, yes to all of the above. Let's put up that final card, Kefri, because I really blew past that.
Yeah, but I would just say the chakra points are here on this, in the middle pillar. So there is where the chakra point is. And that is also the Kundalini energy that comes up and down here.
So that's the very earthly energy that we have to we have to make rise. Yeah,
it is. So it certainly is chakra points in there.
Okay, that's interesting.
And then there's this idea in I really have to get this onto a slide, but there's this idea. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, here we go. So see this lightning bolt thing that's in the black?
Yes.
See that weird shape it has? It's the same shape as that lightning bolt on the tower card, knocking the crown off that tower. But it's a particular shape that traces the...
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it traces the kind of energy down from the divine. So it's the sword. You can kind of see it's a sword. A sword down from the divine to the earth plane where we are. That's like the downward energy, but the upward energy is like a snake. And instead of touching the spheres, and again, these are just images to help us think about it, because our little puny brains can't comprehend what's really going on. So these are just our pictures that help us, do this. If you ever go to Amsterdam, there's this amazing museum that has every possible infographic to represent this stuff. It's so great. Kefri turned me on to it. And when you do your world travels, Mel, we're going to get you to the Institute of Free Thought, or whatever it's called there. Anyway, here's the idea of the snake kind of making its way up. Okay. And instead of touching the spheres, he's touching each of those pathways, the little pathways between the spheres. And then Kefri's going to put up a thing that shows you just kind of where some tarot cards are on that.
Yeah.
Because then the tarot cards are associated with each of those little pathways in between them. So if you look up, your lover's card is on that thing that is showing right now between that 3 and the 6. It's the lover's card. And that's your advice, is to bring down but not too harsh. So see how it's black up there? So if the advice is saying, highlight the love of it. You've already been through the pain. You know the pain. You are the alchemist. You have turned that, you have turned that bullshit of a lot of oppression that you lived with, and you're turning it into liberation. That is alchemy. And so that is turning that black dross into gold, which is there, that 6 card. Okay, so the advice to not go back into the black because you've already been there. Okay, you can listen to Amy Winehouse. She can go back to black, whatever. You can get depressed. We can all get drunk, whatever. But you don't want to go back to that.
Yes.
So because you've been there like for 22 years or 21 and a half years or however long it took you to get out of that place, not to say that there wasn't food and care and structure and safety, physical safety, or whatever the case may be, but you have experienced a great deal of restriction in your life. Now is the time for you to explore liberation and to share that process with others. And there may be many others who have grown up in similarly oppressive circumstances, or at least circumstances. And your way of thinking about it, your way of choosing to think about it, because it's always a choice.
Yes.
That is your alchemy. And that is going to be your gold, so to speak. That's going to be your perhaps stock and trade. I don't know what your plans are, but that certainly has value and you should consider sharing it.
Okay.
And so the other card that you have there is the Fool, and we can see the Fool between the white and the gray on the very, very top. So we have the top one and then the other one that is coming down that way. And so we're tracing this kind of kite-shaped thing at the very top of the tree as being energies that you already are working with. So more power to you. And then that beautiful purple down below is your pathway, the 9, to get to that gold. And oftentimes that will come in relationship not only to others, but to yourself, to your various sides, your masculine and your feminine, your light and your shadow, your optimist and pessimist, your sage and your child. And your beautiful, beautiful maiden. So you are at this ingenue phase right now, which is so beautiful. Let's look at the Moon card, Kefri, do you mind?
Yeah.
And then I still haven't gone back to what was our overall card. I forgot.
6 of Pentacles.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's look at that. I'm just going on and on. I hope you don't mind.
No, it's fine. I'm like
Most
leaning.
people like being talked about, so I'm just gonna be you, and we all just like yeah. So the moon. The moon has 3 phases. It also represents the fullness of womanhood. So right now you're in the fullness of your womanhood. You know, you're coming into that, your 20s and 30s, your fullness of womanhood. Before that, you were a girl. That was the crescent moon. And then down the line, you're going to be more like the crone. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And so different phases of life, but having them all as a consciousness, understanding all those viewpoints and integrating all those viewpoints is another aspect of that Lover's card in terms of coming together. And so why did I bring up the moon? Because of your age, because of that ingenue-ness, because of that idea of the flower of youth, all of those things. And we are fortunate to be in a free and pretty prosperous country where we can explore lots of different things, not just being agreed to be traded into motherhood and chattel status into some other family or something like back in pagan times or more recent times. You know what I mean? So God forbid we should be subject to that. But I think you might have been subject to that for a while. Please pardon this reference. I do not mean this to be offensive at all, but you might be interested in reading some of these. There's references. Ayaan Hirsi Ali, I think, is this one woman. She wrote a book. I think it was called Slave. Anyway, she's Somali, and she got sold into servitude in Dubai or in an Arab country, something like that. She ended up as a refugee. She had political, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, she tells her memoir of enslavement, which is very interesting. Memoirs of people might be interesting for you to read. I predict that you might write your own at some point. Maybe you're doing that now. You ever read anything by Maya Angelou?
I don't think I did.
So check out her autobiographical books. They probably have them with her reading them, which would be even better because she's just amazing and wonderful and fabulous. Read her autobiography books. I think the first one is called I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings.
Okay.
And that's a beautiful book. And she had a very interesting childhood and spent some of it mute after some of her words caused someone to die, or in her interpretation as a child. But that person had done her wrong. But anyway, blah, blah, blah. It's really worth reading. So the Six of Pentacles. Let's look at the Six of Pentacles.
Yeah.
Whatever way the money's flowing right now is correct and fair. Okay. If you need to borrow, if you need to ask, if somebody gave you money, if they gave you money, you don't have to give it back. Someday you'll do something nice or you'll pay it forward to somebody else. Notice the two people who are on, notice that the person who's giving has scale. So you might be, somebody's going to maybe hit you up for money. Now that you're making your own living, look at you all fancy. There's maybe a lot of scarcity thinkers around you who are going to be all over you now because you should treat them because now you're the rich person, please. Now, you're welcome to do that. But people's sense of entitlement to what you have needs to be checked.
Okay.
Because you made this happen, for God's sake. My gosh. So you need to, preserve it and be the guardian of it. Now, it doesn't mean you have to be a tightwad, but it does mean that you have to be discerning. And so let's look at these figures here who are on the ground. One of them is getting some money. He's managed to stay pretty clean, bandaged himself up. The other one is asking for money, but the scales of justice are over his head and they are even, and he's not getting anything right now. But notice his garment. It's kind of dirty and it's not mended. If you give him the money, it's probably going to fall out anyway, or they're not going to be a good custodian of it. They're not going to caretake it the way you have caretaken it. So you have the right. It is just for you to decide at your own discretion, at your own sense of fairness, what it is that you do with your resources. If that means that you need to borrow from others, that is your business, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no injustice in borrowing, and there is a lot to be gained from knowing how to use the OPM, which is other people's money. So building up your credit is a really good idea. You should get an American Express as soon as possible and just charge like $20 on it and pay it down. Charge $50, pay it down. Because you have to do that on American Express. You have to pay it down to zero, but that establishes your credit really well.
Okay.
Capital One will issue you credit, and just pay that stuff down every month, and then have them inch your credit limit up. Always ask for the credit limit to go up, and it's relative what you owe to what they're willing to lend you. There's your credit score in a lot of ways. Okay. So there's strategies to make that happen, and you can also write a letter explaining your circumstances to establish it as baseline, as a legal thing in your file, and then from then on out, you're proving whatever you're proving, if that's an issue. But all of that is to say that should you choose to borrow or lend or not, they say neither a borrower nor a lender be. Yeah. Okay. Most rich people make fantastic use of leverage. If you're going to buy a house, you're going to leverage that thing. You want to come in with whatever lowest down payment possible to maximize the loan, all that kind of stuff. So, and that's maybe that's what we're looking at right now. Maybe that's what you're thinking about is, how am I going to qualify for this loan? How am I going to get into this townhouse? How am I going to get into this mobile home? I don't know what you're thinking to buy, but whatever it is, probably a good move. Whenever you can step in. But okay. do some, like, if you could get into a duplex, get into something that you could sublet, rent out without somebody being in your face, something that's private that they can deal with, a garage you can fix up, something like that. Because what you're thinking of is what's going to be the most fair, the most productive, the best for me, what's going to be most fair to me, because it's time that people are fair to you.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to me, Kefri. Anything on this Six of Pentacles?
I see this card as a conclusion for what your aim is, Mel. It's to help the world and to work with charity, actually. That's the way I see it. It's like a conclusion of this full reading, actually. And again, it's a 6, so it's about beauty and it's about balance. And there is also where you want things to be beauty, actually, and where you also can be beauty. So that is also where the light
The
is.
6
so to
being the
speak.
place of beauty. So that's
Yeah,
the beauty
yeah,
reference in all these 6s that we're seeing in your reading. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And we also saw that the lovers are also ending up in the 6th spot in the tree of life, actually. So that is also,
Oh,
it's a
that's
lot.
right.
Yeah, it's a lot of 6s here that has to do with balance on all levels, actually. And that is your magic, actually, what you can create.
What's your sign?
I'm a Gemini.
Oh, look at you. Yeah. So look at that masculine, feminine polarity, the twins. I'm going to pull up a little Gemini picture.
Okay.
Yeah, but the lovers is also connected to the Gemini. So
Absolutely.
that's in
Absolutely.
the reading also.
I feel like that's good to hear. This is good to hear.
Yeah.
And it's spot on, honestly. Everything is spot on. Like, I feel like after all my adversity, like dealing with my job of the warehouse, of how like the authority would be like disrespectful to associates, and then now I'm becoming a manager, and because I've been through that adversity, my mission is to make sure I am an advocate for people who was in my
Yeah, yeah. And
you know,
that's the beauty of the 6 of Pentacles also.
right. Yeah, so that's my mission.
Yeah.
Well
Yeah.
done. Well done. Well done. As I said, you would have organized the union, or you're going to do it from the management side, you know?
Yeah. And
Because it's
when
about fair treatment and fair pay and fair, and fair equity in the positions and the hierarchies and everything. There's so much in there, you know?
yeah, and when you do that, you have the 6 in the. There is something wrong here, Alison.
Oh, but look how it mixes them together. I love that.
Yeah,
It's the
it does. But you have that angel up here that is also giving you messages, actually. And that is also why you get them, is why you do so much for the world, actually.
Okay.
Because you're able to hear those communications and those
Yeah.
motivations. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there it is, the 6.
That was a lovely synchronicity on the computer. I love that.
Yeah.
Visually, it was beautiful. So there you go. That's the tarot flow, my dear. I hope it's been useful. It seems like it's been spot on. Do you want to talk to it, or do you just want to contemplate it over the next couple of days, and then we'll touch base at some point in the future?
Yeah, I would like to, think about it. Sit on it for a little bit too.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for being our guest. I appreciate you very much. I hope you will text me your address so that we can send you a little gifty at your new place. Let me know your new address where you can receive a package. And we will see each other very soon. I have someone, we have our 4 o'clock, our 7 o'clock is coming up in about 15 minutes. So we're going to take a quick break. If you wouldn't mind leaving your window open, Mel, to finish up the local recording, and that way we'll have the highest possible quality recording when we finish this up. And so I'm going to go ahead and take us out with some music, and thank you for being here, and thank everybody for being on the Tarot Flow Show. And thanks, Mel and Kefri. Bye-bye.
Bye.